Recording in progress.
Hello and welcome to the Pacifica City Council meeting of July 12th. We have a closed session item. Could you please read the description for us, City Clerk? And then we'll check and see if we have any public comment.
Yes, so there are two items on the closed session agenda tonight. The first item is pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiator, the agency negotiator Timothy Davis and Charles Zuber, employee organizations IAFF Local 2400, Pacifica Firefighters Association, IAFF Local 2400 Battalion Chiefs, Teamsters Local 350, Management Employees, Teamsters Local 856 Miscellaneous Employees, Teamsters Local 856 Wastewater Treatment Plant Employees, Pacifica Police Officers Association, Pacifica Police Supervisors Association, and Police Management Association. The second closed session agenda item is for pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8, conference with real property negotiator, discussion concerns price and terms of payment, agency negotiator Kevin Woodhouse, city manager, property, a portion of 540 Crespi Drive, Pacifica, California, APN 022-162-420. Negotiating parties, City of Pacifica and Brendan Murphy. Those are the two items for closed session tonight.
Okay, and I do not see anyone with a raised hand. No attendees at this point. Do you see anything different, City Clerk?
No, I don't see any attendees or raised hands for public comment on those items.
All right, then we will leave this meeting, go into closed session and return back after that meeting is concluded. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Pacifica City Council meeting of July 12th. I am going to be the first to let you know that I'm traveling, and so my documents are not in front of me as they normally are. I'm doing my best to manage two computers to look at the agenda and bounce back and forth. So I'm going to ask both City Clerk Coffey and Management Analyst Montemayor to please keep me on the straight and narrow, and thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, in advance for that. City Clerk Coffee, my agenda is not up yet, still working on that. So if you could please go ahead with the roll call, and then we'll do our salute to the flag. And then I believe we'll have our closed session report.
That's right. Starting with the roll call, Councilmember Big Stick,
Present.
Councilmember Vaterlos,
Here.
Councilmember O'Neill. Will reflect that Councilmember O'Neill is absent. Mayor Pro Tem Beer. Here. And Mayor Beckmeyer.
Here. And Mayor Pro Tem, I believe you're going to salute the flag.
I am.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank
Mayor
you.
Beckmeyer, I'll make a few notes about tonight's meeting format.
Thank you.
This meeting is being held by video conference with no physical location open to the public. The public can observe and participate in the meeting via the Zoom link provided in the agenda or by phone to the dial-in number and webinar ID in the agenda. This meeting may also be observed live on local TV channel 26 or online at www.cityofpacifica.org/live stream. For this meeting, live verbal public comments may be made through participation by Zoom. For members of the public participating via Zoom, use the raise hand button to indicate that you wish to speak on an agenda item or during oral communications when the mayor calls upon that item. For those participating by phone, use *9 to raise your hand to request to speak. City Clerk or Management Analyst Montemayor will call upon speakers at the appropriate time, and you may be allowed to unmute after your screen name is called, or the first 4 digits of your phone number if you're the last 4 digits of your phone number if you're dialing in. Please clearly state your full name for the record at the start of your public comment. For those dialing in, *6 will unmute yourself. Written and email public comments will not be read during the meeting, but will be made part of the written record and provided to council members. Email comments are not monitored during the live meeting. The format of this meeting may be altered or the meeting may be canceled if needed. You may check on the status of the meeting by visiting the city's website at www.cityofpacifica.org for any updates.
Thank you very much. City Attorney, do we have a closed session report?
No reportable action.
Thank you very much. And that will bring us to special presentations. Tonight we have Pacifica Beach Bites Bingo. And I'm checking to see if we have our Kathleen Courtney there you are. Hi, Kathleen, from representing the Economic Development Committee. And
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and all of our wonderful esteemed guests and council people. I am very proud to represent the Pacifica Economic Development Committee in this presentation of Pacifica's Beach Bites Bingo. And if any of you out there are wondering what you could do to help your local Pacifica small businesses and restaurants, here's your opportunity. And you even have a chance to win $50 gift card. And thank you also to the Chamber for all of their help as well. So without further ado, I will let you know that we have 6 people up for this one. And I am going to click to spin. I do laugh at myself all the time. Okay, you guys. Okay, for the first time ever, we have a winner, a double winner. I mean, Trisha, I think it's the same Trisha who won last time, which is the first time it's happened. But congratulations, Trisha.
Hey,
I'm so
Trisha.
excited for you and look forward to hooking you up with a wonderful gift card. Florrie's was the last one Florrie's Bookstore was the last one to receive one, so we'll see who's next. We'll let you know at the next council meeting. Thank you, everybody. Get out there, get your cards.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All right. I'm always so excited with that. Okay, moving on, consent calendar. I would like to say that persons wishing to address the council on any consent calendar item may do so at this time, and each speaker will be allotted 3 minutes. Items on the consent calendar will be adopted with one motion unless a council member requests before the vote on the motion to have an item discussed. Time limit on comments is 3 minutes or less. All right, let's start by asking council if you have any items that you would like to pull from the consent agenda. Seeing none. Let's see if we have public comment.
Madam Mayor, I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time.
All right, very well then, back to council. I'll close public comment. And I'm ready for a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll
A
second.
second. Oh,
For the consent calendar items, move to approve by Councilmember Butterlos and seconded by Councilmember Big Stick. Councilmember Big Stick,
Yes.
Councilmember Butterlos,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beer,
yes.
and Mayor Beckmeyer.
Yes.
And the consent calendar passes unanimously.
All right, that brings us to oral communications. This portion of the agenda is available for the public to address the city council on any issue that is not on the agenda. Any person wishing to address the council shall be recognized by the mayor during oral communications, provided, however, that during the oral communications portion of the agenda, only items not on the agenda for tonight's meeting will be addressed. All remarks shall be addressed to the council as a body and not to any member thereof. Council members shall not enter into a debate with speakers under oral communications. A maximum time of 3 minutes will be allowed for any speaker. Pursuant to Pacifica Municipal Code Title II, Chapter 1, Section 2-1.118, any person making impertinent, slanderous, or profane remarks, or who becomes boisterous while addressing the council shall be called to order by the presiding officer, and if such conduct continues, may at the discretion of the presiding officer be ordered barred from further audience before the council during tonight's meeting. And Management Analyst Montemayor, do we have public comment during oral communications?
I do see one hand raised, or 2 hands raised now, Madam Mayor. Our first speaker will be Monica Meager, followed by Christine Bowles. Monica, you may now unmute yourself to speak.
Thank you, and thank you, City Council, for hearing me tonight. My name is Monica Maher. I'm a resident of the Esplanade area, and I called in last City Council meeting to ask that the oversized vehicle ordinance stay enforced on Esplanade Avenue from Manor to Billdrake Way. While this section of road was removed from the ordinance, I'm asking that City Council adopt a resolution to add it back. There was a lot of confusion at the meeting about the presence of bike lanes with regards to if this section of road should be included. And I think staff's verbal answer during the meeting was unclear. So let me just take a few seconds to read verbatim what staff provided in the agenda packet for the last meeting. With regards to Esplanade Avenue from Manor to Billdrake Way, it says, after further analysis of Esplanade Avenue, the road in its current state does not have bicycle lane marking, as they have been fully faded and not been maintained in some time. End of quote. So that makes it clear that there should be a bike lane there, but it wasn't properly maintained. Cyclists still frequent this stretch of road even without maintained bike lanes. If a study was conducted comparing usage of this stretch of Esplanade to the new lanes that the city paid to add along Palmetto, I believe you'd find Esplanade to be much more frequently used. So just because the city paid to add new lanes instead of fixing existing ones does not mean cyclists no longer use a stretch of the road. Also, this section of Esplanade appears on the City County Association of Governments of San Mateo County bike map. And that map shows this stretch of Esplanade as a class 3 bike route, which means it provides for shared use with pedestrian or motor vehicle traffic and is marked with signs, which I confirmed today. There is in fact a sign there. Not pavement striping, but signs. It's also unclear what the status is of Esplanade south of Manor. The road becomes more narrow there, so it should be part of the ordinance, which I believe it still is since the signs are still up on that stretch. However, it's not documented on the list of which streets are included in the ordinance. So I kindly ask staff to make sure that's on the next update. So just to reiterate, I'm asking that the city council adopt a resolution to add Esplanade from Manor to Bill Drake back to the oversized vehicle ordinance, as this is a frequently used bike route, even if it is not maintained by the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Our next speaker will be Christine Bowles, followed by Robert Hutchinson. Christine, you may now unmute yourself.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. This is Christine Bowles. I know we don't currently have a representative from the Manor District on council, and I'm excited about that in the next election. And just wanted to give you a little bit of an update, since none of you live here, about the fireworks on July 4th. So our house sits up the hill a little bit, so we can see a good bit of the neighborhood. And honestly, I would describe it as a war zone that night. I was so excited to see the signs all over at the fireworks stands saying that illegal fireworks, are not tolerated, and that Pacifica has a zero tolerance policy. And I'd really like to get an update from the police chief on their experience that night, whether they felt overwhelmed, whether they felt there were enough officers, how many citations they issued. I called in 3 times, but honestly, I could see 8 or 10, at any one time going off from my home, including 2 so close, one on Monterey Road and one on the road behind us, Nelson, sorry, thanks, my husband, that literally shot over my house. So, I know I've read on Nextdoor and Facebook, a lot of people go out of town, pay hundreds of dollars for hotels for their dogs and other animals, or people with PTSD or small children. These are not legal fireworks. They are so loud and obnoxious. I'd really like to brainstorm how we can improve the police department's work to stop this. I did actually walk across the street to one of the offending neighbors. They were having a party with about 25 young people out in their driveway, and actually setting them off on Monterey Road, which, as you know, is a really busy street with bus lines. I confronted them and told them that these were illegal and that there was a $1,000 fine and up to 6 months in jail. And the response I got was, "Is that all?" So obviously we're not doing enough to control the situation and keep Pacifica safe for residents. And I really look forward to hearing what we can do differently next year. Thank you.
Christine, our next speaker is Robert Hutchinson. Robert, you may now unmute yourself.
Mute. I'm unmuted, correct?
Yes.
Am I? Okay. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I have the same old gripes as last time, except a few more added. I'm here with a person who cannot get online to view these or comment on these meetings. And there's hundreds of people in Pacifica like this. This Therese Dyer is here, and she can't get online. I wanted to ask, is it possible to have 2 people on the same hookup here? Make 2 separate comments or not? Oh, I guess you can't answer my questions. Any rate, they need to end these virtual meetings because it's ridiculous. You're counting out a lot of people out of the whole participation of it. But I wanted to ask, on item 7 at the last council meeting, was that only about authorizing the 127,000 for furniture, for the temporary furniture? Or was that for the full 195,000 for everything for the move? Was that vote for everything? Because the agenda item description only said furniture. And if that was for everything, that vote, that should be invalidated because it's not an accurate description at all. It's misleading, just like a lot of it. There's nothing on the city website anywhere about this new City Hall Civic Center project. Isn't that kind of weird? No, not really. When you look at everything else, there was no public participation really on this. I got no mailers on this Civic Center, $12 million Civic Center, like I did for Beach Boulevard or any of the others. And again, you have nothing on your whole website about it. Why is that? Trying to hide it or something? I don't, it just seems like it. I mean, if the city was more transparent with all this, there wouldn't be so much suspicion by a lot of people, because there's a lot of people that are suspicious about it because of what you're doing. You're basing this whole city civic center build, $12 million civic center, brand new for you guys, with no public input, on one document that says there's mold in the building, and you won't share the document with the public. If that's not suspicious, I don't know what is. So, I mean, it's your guys' fault that people are suspicious like this, and it's not just me, it's a lot of people in the city, and you need to do something about it. And need to think, why did this project go from 600,000 remediation for the mold to 6 million, and now it's 12 million? It's going to be 20 million by the time the whole thing goes, or more. And I'm going to do what I can to stop it because it's ridiculous. You guys need to think about what you're doing. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
So they wouldn't let me
They wouldn't answer.
They wouldn't answer.
I'd like to ask a question of the city attorney, please. City attorney, I'm suspending public comment for the moment. With one dial-in, can we have a second person make their own independent personal public comment?
Yes, so long as there's a second person who can identify themselves.
Very well. Then I would like to unsuspend public comment and allow public comment from Trace Dyer on the same phone call line as Robert Hutchinson. So if that line's already been hung up, if they could dial in again, that would be great. Mr. Monti.
Line is still active, so if he wants to go ahead and unmute himself to let Teresa speak. Teresa, please state your name for the record.
Okay, can I speak?
Yes, speak.
Okay, yeah, I'm Teresa Dyer, and I've been receiving the agendas in the mail. Unfortunately, last week, according to the mail, I guess I got mine after the meeting, 2 days later. But this week's I got 2 days before. So whether it was the mail follow-up, I don't know. But anyway, thank you for that. Also like to thank the city manager for pursuing what I called the GGNRA regarding the excuse me, the parking over there at Maury's Point. I mean, there's just accidents waiting to happen. It shouldn't be a two-way street there. And the police, police so often, but there should be a police officer there all the time. I mean, it's just an accident waiting to happen. But thank you for pursuing that. And I hope you have better luck than what I did with the GGNRA. They have plenty of land there to have their own parking place.
That's on the agenda tonight.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but anyway, I wanted to make that comment under oral communications. And also, I just got informed this afternoon that Tina Weimeister is the ADA coordinator, which is news to me because of all the listings in your local telephone book. There's nothing listed as an ADA coordinator. I mean, you have the planning department, you have the business department, you have all the other departments, but there's no listing in last year's telephone book. So you need to make that correction. If she's going to be your coordinator, then you need to make her / whatever she's doing now, plus the coordinator. And I'd like to know if she gets paid for this, or is this voluntary or whatever? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa. We have one more hand raised from Petra. Petra, you're now allowed to speak. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, I guess you just said about Fairway Park here, Maury's Point, you're going to discuss later. So we'll have an opportunity to discuss that then.
That's right. When we get to the action items tonight for
Okay.
tonight's agenda,
Okay.
you'll be notified that we'll be taking public comment on those items. and
Okay.
Comment at that point.
Okay, but I did have a comment kind of tagging on to what the lady ahead said. Not just, yes, we're somewhat out of the pandemic. I'm a school teacher, so I had to go back to work. I think part of the frustration with all what is happening in Fairway Park is that there was no communication. It put undue stress on the police of our town, which already had a lot of stress with all the protests and things that were going on. And so I think that needs to be cleaned up a little bit as far as accessibility, ease of information. I am a lot more technological savvy now, having done Zoom for a year, but no way could my parents do this. And even myself, it's very difficult to find information. So I think definitely the frustration of never receiving calls back and almost I don't care attitude. I had to listen to, recordings of to keep our people safe and our workers and their health safe. They're working from home. And yet we had hundreds of people coming through the neighborhood at times when they weren't supposed to. So I think having that communication open, having somebody go over the website, make it more user-friendly, and not forgetting our elderly population. My parents have lived here almost 60 years. I can tell you right now, they're not doing it on the internet. So that's, if we can get that cleared up, I think a lot of problems would be solved in the not trusting category. So transparency would be great. And an ease of speaking to people who are in the know or who can do something about it, not just passing it off to the police department who have enough on their hands. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Petra. Madam Mayor, we have no more hands raised at this time.
All right, then we'll close public comment and come back to council for council communications. Who would like to start? Councilmember Big Stick, please go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. I feel like I didn't do a whole lot over the last 2 weeks for some reason. So I'm going to probably dwell on the PRC a little bit more than I normally would. But I'll start by saying that as I do every week, I try and visit a business and let you all know. So in this case, Humble Sea is the new business on Pedro Point. And I went and I had a beer and I had a burger, and both were very good. They've really cleaned up the space really nicely, and it's a lovely business. So I hope everybody has an opportunity to check them out. I attended the North County Fire Authority JPA meeting with Councilmember O'Neill. The big news out of that meeting is simply that Jocelyn Manalo of Daly City has been elected the new chair of the JPA, and Glenn Sylvester of Daly City the new vice chair. So it was a relatively short meeting. It's a mostly administrative function, so it went smoothly. And then I did attend the Pacifica Resource Center meeting last Wednesday. Their back to school program is in full swing right now as they're getting backpacks and supplies together. So if anyone has interest, please contact PRC and how you can contribute. During the meeting, Chris Porter, who is our head of Recology and a board member, asked me, since the opportunity arose, a little bit about trash after the 4th of July. She just wanted to put a feeler out because apparently there was a lot of trash left inland And the concern was that the sellers of the fireworks are obligated to clean up on the coast, but not necessarily as far inland as might be helpful. So she might be approaching us in the not too distant future to discuss that a little bit and if something can be tweaked. The PRC passed their annual budget, so that was good. They renewed their contract with San Mateo County to continue their homeless on the coast outreach. The program's going pretty well, so it's going to keep going, which is good news. They talked about the Palmapalooza, which is the big annual fundraiser for PRC. And they're still nailing down a venue, but they chose, the theme this year will be Home is Where You Hang Your Hat. And so as soon as those invitations go out, you'll have the opportunity to find a hat to bring with you to the party. And it should be a really good time once we get there in order to raise money for, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best causes in Pacifica. So I've got my hat picked out already, and I urge everybody else to start the consideration now. And finally, there was some discussion about the Heroes Fund that has been brought up before in council. The city has begun reaching out to the PRC to garner interest in administration of the fund when it's confirmed. And so there was some talk amongst the PRC about that. And I'm sure that those communications will continue between the city and the PRC. And it's good to see that that ball has already begun to roll. That's what I've got. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Who's next?
You want to go, Sue?
I'll go next. Mine is also short. So apparently there were meetings canceled for the summer. So I went to the Seaweed Holistics opening in Rockaway, and as legally, they did not give samples. So just wanted you to know. I went to the City and County Association of Government legislative meeting. They were working on the final budget. The main thing, the governor was interested in high-speed rail going through the Central Valley. I know that doesn't affect us, but if they didn't go through the Central Valley, he wasn't interested. They are on a summer break now, legislators, until August 17th. The committee did meet with local electeds to talk about our local issues. I also attended the City and County Association of Governments regular board meeting. We welcomed a new director, as our old director has retired after about 20 years. We had presentations from various groups and about senior transportation, etc. I also met with several members of the public, and I love now that we can meet with members of the public regarding their concerns on many different issues. So I've spread those out to the different departments, parks, streets, dumping signs, many topics, but it's really nice to be able to meet members of the public in person. So it would be really nice to meet people especially if we disagree on a topic. I would like to meet you in person, because then maybe we can have a better understanding of each other's ideas. So just email me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
I couldn't agree with you more, Sue Bartolus. Yeah, it's really nice to be able to meet people in person. And I've been doing that too. And I have some more scheduled, over the next couple of weeks. And that just feels really good. Sometimes it's hard to fit them into my work schedules and things, but it's worth it, right? To take the extra time. So I met with Tree City Pacifica. So that's good. I'm going to be meeting with them regularly moving forward. I also met with the Sierra Club. And so I don't have a lot of information about that meeting. It was quick, but we're going to also be meeting on a regular basis as well. I went to Housing Leadership Council, a meeting on the housing element. So there's going to be a lot of information coming out about the housing element and people in the community who really want to be involved with that. So it's great that we have such an engaged community. So I wanted to circle back to some of the things that people said in public comment. On our City of Pacifica website, there's a frequently asked questions about the Civic Center project. So please take a look at that. I think it was just put up yesterday. Could be wrong about that, but anyway, there is something on our website about it. So please take a look. Also, it would be great to hear from Chief Steidel, when we're done with our communications about 4th of July. And then Tina, when you come back on, can you maybe address the in-person meetings? I know it's a lot, but anyway, I wanted to take the rest of my time to talk about the program that I'm doing through my employment. So we're doing a civic empowerment program with young people. And I know that some of our public had shown an interest in that at one point in time. So I wanted to update you on that. We have 32 young people applied for our program. I'm really excited about it. We're starting to create our curriculum. So we'll be doing local government 101, how to participate in campaigns, how to apply and sit on boards and commissions. It's really wonderful to see the amount of young people in our community who really want to be civically engaged, and they want to be civically engaged now. Like, they don't want to wait. And so the more seats that we have for our young people on any kind of nonprofits that you have, if you could have a youth seat, please add a youth seat and let me know, because we want just to spread out our young people onto as many councils and boards as we can, because their voice is super important. And it's just an honor to have so many young people on board. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much. Well, I don't have a lot to report myself. Been on vacation for not quite a week, and that is wonderful. As I stated at the last meeting, it's really important to take time. And sometimes in today's 24/7, 365 connected devices world, it's hard to disconnect. So I advocate for that. And everyone should try to get some time to themselves as much as possible. Staff, council members, everybody. I would like to announce or inform the council that the Coastal Cities Group meeting that was supposed to be scheduled for next Thursday has been postponed because of a conflict with the League of Cities. But we will be receiving a legislative update at that point on where we are now since the budget has passed, and where various measures stand that had to do with defining coastal zone, addressing issues and how we define existing development in the coastal zone. We were looking for an opportunity to insert some language into legislation to help clarify that. And I'm pretty sure that it didn't go through, because the last report we had was that the originator of the bill was not willing to put that amendment in. But we'll be hearing more, and I'll report out at the next meeting on what the status of that is. I did want to make on his behalf, a personal comment about Councilmember O'Neill being away for a very significant family event. I really don't remember if this came up at our last council meeting, but I know he would not mind me announcing that his daughter is getting married. And therefore, in fact, I think it's tonight, or maybe it's tomorrow night, and he is not going to be joining our meeting. But we will be sure to keep him updated, and look forward to seeing him at the next meeting. Thank you. Staff report will come from Assistant City Manager and Planning Director Tina Wermeister.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. Mayor Pro Tem Beer and I were on the same wavelength, because I coincidentally had on my list the same things that she asked me to address. So I wanted to let the council and the community know that we did launch a Civic Center campus facilities project page on our city website. An easier way to get to it is go to cityofpacifica.org/CCCFP. That stands for Civic Center Campus Facilities Project. We also put this out on Connect with Pacifica and all of our social media channels, so you may see a link to it when you're surfing the net. And I do want to say that right now it includes factual information about the project in the form of frequently asked questions, but the vision is for it to expand to include more information as the project proceeds, and to also be a clearinghouse for all of the staff reports and public information agenda items that have been published on the website the last many months, so that folks can find them all in one place there as well. Regarding the fireworks update, every year Chief Dan Steidel provides the council an update at their regular meetings. It includes statistical information that the council and the community may be curious about, and that will occur either in August or September. So look out for that. And regarding meetings, so the council had previously directed staff to prepare for in-person meetings starting in September. And we also were directed to study the possibility of providing a phone-in, kind of a hybrid phone-in option for folks who still may be uncomfortable or cannot attend in person. So that is still being explored. That is not set yet. And then the caveat there is that that call-in option would be available to the meetings that PCTV supports. So it would be City Council, Planning Commission, and the other committee and commission meetings would be in person at that point only. So that concludes my updates. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'm flipping to my electronic document, and we have no public hearings tonight, so that will bring us to our consideration items.
Can we
With-
just take 5? Do you mind?
Oh, not at all.
Thank you so much.
Let's see what time it is. Okay, 7:44. And so we'll come back at 7:40, let's say 7:50. the consideration portion of our agenda. We have 2 agenda items for consideration. Agenda item 12 is the Open Space and Parkland Advisory Committee update on community impacts associated with increased visitation at Maury Point. The proposed action is to accept the report on impacts and to direct the city manager's office to send a letter to the Golden Gate National Recreation Area to encourage proposed solutions detailed in this report and direct staff to collaborate with GGNRA on implementation of the GGNRA's selected solutions. Bonnie O'Connor will be presenting the staff report, and let us go ahead with, there we go, Bonnie O'Connor.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. I am Associate Planner Bonnie O'Connor. I will actually not be presenting this item, but I will like to welcome Open Space and Parkland Advisory Committee Chair Arlene Patton to provide you with a presentation.
Great, thank you. Welcome, Arlene.
I see her name, but oh, there she goes.
Yeah,
Hi,
I'm
Arlene.
Hi, I'm here.
Hello.
I'm not sure why.
City Clerk Coffey, can we include Arlene in the panel so she can turn on her camera?
Yes, Arlene is currently a panelist. Let me see if I can help troubleshoot with the camera.
There she is.
Here I am.
All right.
Hi, as Bonnie's already introduced, I am Arlene Patton, current chair of the Open Space and Parkland Advisory Committee, or OSPAC, and this is our report to City Council regarding increased visitation and community impacts at Maury Point. I'm the presenter, but I want to give a shout out to Ellen Natason and Joanne Arnos, who did extensive research and work. They were the subcommittee members for this report. I also want to let council and the public know that I think everybody on the committee has visited the area, and some of us multiple times since this issue has been brought to our attention. I wanted to thank Mary Beer, our council liaison, and Bonnie O'Connor for all their work and support. So, next slide, please. Resolution number 44, 2015 instructs OSPAC to advise City Council on matters related to parklands under the jurisdiction of National Park Services, or NPS's, Golden Gate National Recreation Area, that's the GGNRA, and policy and procedures of NPS as they relate to areas of the GGNRA within the city of Pacifica and adjacent communities. Maury Point is owned and managed by the GGNRA. Next slide, please. Here is the area along the coast from Maury Point. Next slide, please. Maury Point and other open space designations in Pacifica have many benefits to Pacifica residents, including to the Fairway West neighborhood. Recent unmanaged increase in concentrated usage has led to impacts on Pacifica's residents who live near Maury Point. The Fairway West neighborhood first brought these issues to OSPAC's attention in October of 2020. Please refer to attachment A as the written correspondence to us, but we got a verbal presentation through our public comment process. Next slide, please. So we're asking that City Council direct city staff to collaborate with GGNRA to develop and implement solutions to manage the increased influx to visitors to Maury Point. As you've seen through their the Fairway West neighborhood, note to us is that it's not just the COVID situation. We have been discovered. There is a lot more visitation, and we agree that this is going to be an ongoing issue for our community. Next slide, please. Neighborhood street parking is heavily impacted. We've all driven through it and have seen that. Illegal parking is blocking driveways, corners, fire hydrants, and emergency vehicle ingress and egress. You can advance to the next slide. Here are photographs of what we've been sent and have observed. Neighborhood traffic congestion and unsafe conditions for pedestrians have increased, including increased pedestrian use of an unsafe crosswalk at Highway 1. Next slide, please. There's also been some issues within the neighborhood itself. This slide shows neighbors blocking off street parking in front of their houses and other locations. The sign on the lower left says no public access on Fairway Drive, go to Moose Lodge to access Maury Point. And then of course there's the vehicle who that has been sitting there for the last couple of months directing people to not use the area. Next slide. This shot on the left is looking down Fairway Drive on a sunny afternoon. And then on the right, this is a public crossing to over the Fairway West neighborhood through the Highway 1 crosswalk, which is a continuing problem. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Here's some example of the trash situation. Not enough trash cans, lack of adequate restrooms, and reports of public urination and defecation. Next slide, please. Public nuisance, noise, public drinking, smoking, partying, theft and vandalism, illegal bonfires and destruction of private property. Pollywog Path needs particular attention. Next slide, please. Pollywog Path, as you can see on this snapshot of the GGNRA Maury Point brochure, is not listed on here. It is a path that runs behind the homes on the westerly edge of Seaside Drive. Next slide, please. So our recommendation regarding parking: collaborate with GGNRA to develop solutions to address the parking, pedestrian safety, and traffic congestion problems. Encourage GGNRA to improve parking on the south side of Old Maury Point and enter partnerships with the Moose Lodge or Sharp Park Golf Course to increase parking options. Add a study to address traffic congestion and safety along Highway 1 and within the affected neighborhood to a future council work plan item or sooner as city resources allow. Next slide, please. Collaborate with GGNRA to improve signage for parking and pedestrian pathways. Encourage Pacifica Police and GGNRA to increase patrol and enforcement of existing parking and traffic laws. Our recommendation regarding sanitation: encourage GGNRA to increase waste pickup frequency and install additional wildlife-proof trash cans. We're encouraging GGNRA to increase restroom capacity and GGNRA to improve signage, public outreach, and enforcement to increase public use of waste bins and restrooms. Our recommendation regarding public nuisance: encourage Pacifica Police and GGNRA to coordinate patrol, increase patrol, and increase enforcement of existing laws. And we strongly encourage Fairway West neighborhood to organize a neighborhood watch program. And I'm happy to discuss my own personal experience with a problem we had in our neighborhood, if anybody's interested. Encourage DGNRA to develop new signage, public outreach, and education campaigns to encourage responsible visitor behavior with respect to the wildlife, habitat, cultural resources, and community at Maury Point. With respect to City Council goals, our engaged community includes taking actions to restore trust in city government, expanding communication, building community. This encourages environmental sustainability, including mapping out parks and open space, preserving hillsides and beaches, paying attention to flora and fauna needs, environmental health, climate adaptation, and reducing our carbon footprint. And this also encourages maintaining a safe community, including supporting our first responders, such as police, fire, public works, responding to emergencies, protecting people, property, businesses, and our infrastructure, streets, sidewalks, storm and wastewater, and engaging in emergency preparedness and prevention activities. Thank you for allowing us to do our presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Do you have immediate questions, council members, or do you want to have public comment? What is your preference?
Go to public comment.
Public comment first? All right, and then we'll address all the questions at the same time. Mr. Montemayor?
Yes, Mayor. We have 3 hands raised at this time. Our first speaker will be Lynn Shimamoto, followed by Petra. Lynn, you may now unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Lynn Shimamoto, and I'm Lynn Shimamoto. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm a little confused here because it appears you skipped over item 11. Can I comment on item 11 on the agenda?
Let me double check. I think item 11 is part of the consent agenda.
I didn't comment then because I thought I wasn't allowed to. Because it was on the agenda.
I invited a public comment on consent agenda items. And
I'm sorry, I apologize for being so confused. I have written to the city council a couple of days ago, or actually yesterday, concerning item 11.
That's what my recommendation will be, that you contact city council and city staff directly regarding item 11.
I did already.
Okay, great. So with regard to item 12, did you have public comment for that item?
No, but thank you for clearing up my confusion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Our next speaker is Petra, followed by Jeff Bliet. Petra, you may now unmute yourself.
Thank you. So my name is Petra Kretschmer, and I am taking care of my parents. So I grew up here on Fairway Drive, but this is their house. Just to make it clear, I realize the lady might have missed that, but it isn't so easy just to call you up and get an answer from the Pacifica, any part of government. So I just want to put that out there because I feel bad for that lady. As far as Fairway Park goes, I'm so glad. A lot of those pictures were mine, especially there were a whole lot more. Especially the map that shows whatever you guys are calling the Polywog Trail was never part of the deal. In 2002, when all this came about and there's nobody around anymore, but my parents have lived here almost 60 years, that was a big concern. And now, lo and behold, it has a name and people are using it because it's on Instagram and all this other stuff. And what you as a city have created is us against them in our neighborhood, because the people who are at the other end, closer to the highway, are frustrated with us saying this is not a trail. But that is exactly the way it was designed, and that because that is the most sensitive habitat back there, the old, what we called the frog pond. So I just want to make that clear. I'm so glad that map is there. Part of that, I had a whole packet that I sent to them. And the other thing is, when you look at your own local coastal land use plan, it says about the land, except where public access would endanger public safety or fragile coastal resources, which is where we're at, adequate access, public requirements to be implemented in a way that allows flexibility in time, manner, and topography, natural resources. To prevent overcrowding and overuse of an area, and also and the privacy of adjacent property owners. We are inundated and the trash is remarkable. We get this during the Fog Fest, we're used to it. We get it when the fish are running, we were used to it. But to have it over and over again by people who aren't necessarily used to being outside and how to behave, they're not your normal trail walkers. So having something where maybe they can park along the golf course, having a parking lot in an area between between Rockaway and Ballymar. I'm not sure where your civic center is going. I tried to look it up on the internet. I've spent the whole meeting trying to find it, can't find it. So it is not an easy thing to find, but you have Palmetto, the old water treatment plant, parking. And then you would be in an area of Pacifica where there are actually businesses where people will actually be spending money in Pacifica instead of here driving here and costing us money. And, so please, I hope that you really consider this. Having that end of the thing was never meant to be. So I would have no trouble being on any kind of a committee, but it's something needs to be done. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
You.
Okay, Petra. Our next speaker is Jeff, followed by Lori Guerrero. Jeff, you may now unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you very much, especially to City Council for asking for this report from OSPAC and for OSPAC on all their work of putting this report together. I wanted to say that I fully support widening the Maury Point Road that is owned by GGNRA. Right now, it is too narrow to support the amount of traffic that we have. So one side of the street is lined with no parking signs that are never, ever, ever enforced. The widening that and allowing it to be wide enough to support parking on both sides and ingress and egress for emergency vehicles and traffic is a huge win. And I think that GGNRA should take some of that, their own land that they have to support people visiting this area. That just makes sense to me. I think this idea of having signage is great, directing people to park along the golf course, or if they're parking over on the Lundy Way side, to direct them to the underpass is a fabulous idea. I think that crosswalks that are going across 4 lanes of Highway 1 right after the freeway ends is a death trap. And we've seen that so many times, it's ridiculous. So that would be a really great thing to do. I am against the idea of putting porta potties out here. If you put porta potties into our neighborhood, I am going to be all over that. We had those by the restroom that exists at the Maury Point Trail, and to have residents have porta potties right outside their doors, the smell, the banging of the self-closing doors, that is just ridiculous. That's not a good way to manage this. I think people should have common sense, but common sense isn't common. So, signs if we need to, that last stop, the restrooms are at the trailhead. There are no further restrooms, things like that, to make people think ahead so they're not defecating and urinating on our properties is a good idea. Last thing I wanted to say, there was a recommendation for neighborhood watch. We have a neighborhood watch program in this neighborhood. I've got a sign in front of my property. I helped organize that years ago. So we have a really good outreach within our neighborhood. We're just really frustrated by this, and we're happy to see that some progress may be made. I know we're only recommending to GGNRA to help us with this, but it's better than nothing. So I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Our next speaker and our final hand that's raised is from Lori Guerrero. Lori, you may now unmute yourself. It appears Lori, try one more time. Lori, did you still want to speak on this item? Please state your name for the record and let us know if you still like to comment on this item.
We're not hearing you speak, Lori, if you're speaking, although it does look to me like your mic is whatever is open. I wonder.
Yeah, it appears Lori's mic is on, but we cannot hear you if you're trying to speak at the moment.
And I see, okay, let's try. Why don't we suggest to have Lori try dialing in? And we could reopen public comment to let her speak if we need to do that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. Lori, go ahead and try to either call in or log out and log back in, because we really want to hear what you have to say. And so, yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on our, and I'll ask Mr. Montemayor to keep an eye on our attendees, and please prompt me when, oh, that might be it right there. Samsung Galaxy. Do you see that, Mr. Montemayor?
Yes. Samsung Galaxy, please state your name for the record. You may now speak.
Hello? Hello? I'm gonna hang
Okay,
on.
we can hear you, but there's an echo, so is it possible for you?
Is that better?
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, this is Lori Guerrero. Actually, my neighbor Jen Burns came over. She's here as well. My phone, for some reason, was not unmuting. Basically, I am the resident with the truck with the signs and trying to keep people at bay because as the main entrance of Maury Point, you know, we are both in the same situation, and it's very invasive. I basically, Petra and Jeff have really covered a lot of the things that I wanted to say. But this is an ongoing problem, which, you know, solutions of permit parking and, you know, for the residents to be neighborhood watching. So now we're police officers while we're at home. I mean, does anybody else go home and police their neighborhood? I don't believe so. You know, we have people coming with a beach attitude, and, you know, they get out of their car, they got loose dogs, they're attacking our cats, they're attacking our dogs. There's dog fights. I mean, there's so many other things that are involved here that, you know, people don't understand and is not listed in here. You know, they're stomping their feet coming off of the trail constantly. I live here. I'm getting woken up by this. You know, there's a catalytic converter that was stolen just a month ago, right 2 doors down. Spray paint every single day, every weekend. And what does GGNRI do? They come and spray paint over it. Does anybody else get their house spray painted on, and their solution to clean it up is to spray paint over it with another color gray? You know, it's just, the solution here needs to be not in a neighborhood. You know, there needs to be a parking lot, and there's plenty of space. Take some of your open space and make a parking lot where you know, where, like as everybody else has said, where they can come and spend their money. They're making our lives miserable, and you try to like just, hey, like, excuse me, you know, there's plenty of parking right across the street. Would you mind? I have somebody coming, and there's a cone right here, obviously, for a reason. And everybody has the entitlement attitude, and then it gets aggressive, and they know where you live. So you literally can't say anything. And then when you call the cops, then all of a sudden you're a cop caller. And then the police are saying, oh, well, we've gotten a lot of calls from down here. So you know, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't.
Only have one public comment at a time. So if
yeah,
someone else they're speaking, they need to wait, and they can make their own separate public comment.
Thank you. I just tried to like shoo her. I'm like, wait, you know, with my hand. But it's, you know, I'm sorry if I'm like, you know, a tiny bit, my voice might be aggressive, but this is, a very, very stressful situation. I'm supposed to be home to relax, and I cannot relax. Every second of the day, there's a car pulling up. There's 3-door minimum slam for every 1 car that pulls up. There's not just 1 beep to lock the car, but they got goldfish syndrome, and they beep it another time, a couple steps, and before they go over the bridge, they beep it again because they've already forgot if they locked it or not. You know,
Okay.
my dogs are barking.
I need to stop you because the 3-minute time is up. If there's
Okay.
another person at that in the vicinity with who wishes to use the phone to make their own public comment, that is permitted.
Okay, it would be great if we can get GGNRA to remove this from the mapping system, Jen, because it's not supposed to be on the maps, and everybody's just following their Google Maps. Jen, you have your opportunity to speak now. You get your 3 minutes.
You guys covered, I came in late and I think you guys covered everything. It's the parking.
Jen,
It's
do it. The mapping, get it off the map.
it needs to, this trailhead, it needs to be off the map. Years ago when GGRNA started all this, bought the land, there were multiple little lies, but finally we found the letter saying that this would never be on a trailhead map for the public.
Which is why it's not on the map.
But now it's on everything and no one just uses Google Maps or Waze. It's Apple Maps. It's 100 different things. Apple doesn't even have the Moose Lodge as an entrance. Most people don't even know. We have to show them on our phones that there's bathrooms over there. And then they come back and say they're not even kept up and they're locked. When they bought the land, they shouldn't have been on the trail. They said they were going to upkeep it. We keep this trail up because we all go fishing on our bikes. We have fishing poles. We trim the trees.
I built that first bridge.
Lori did build the first bridge. What else? It's just, it's unacceptable. The whole thing just has blown the whole neighborhood away. We know people that have moved, they couldn't take it anymore. Nobody has our back. Most of the people in Fairway, this was a quiet cul-de-sac. Most of us are homeowners. We're not renting. We're paying the taxes for the town. This trail doesn't bring any revenue to Pacifica at all. You have the access in Sharp Park. You've got little shops there. Have it in Rockaway and walk through Maury. But to have an access mid-trail in the middle of a neighborhood without a parking lot, I don't know what anyone was thinking on that. Thankfully, we now have the original letter from the GGRNA with their statement promising it won't happen, and that'll probably mean shit in courts.
I'm not supposed to.
Oh, sorry. It's ridiculous. The fact that we're even having these council meetings on it is ridiculous. There should be, you want a beautiful trail, make a parking lot, make it accessible. During the stay-at-home order in the beginning of the pandemic, it was do not leave your house more than 5 miles away from home. And yet there's Pacifica on the news patting themselves on the back at Lindemar Beach because they closed that. They sent everyone and flooded a neighborhood during a pandemic, flooded it, and no one did anything. It's like Fairway was just forgotten about, like, we'll let them, you know, and this trail is like, what, 6 inches, 7, 8 inches wide? That's not social distance safe. But it was okay to flood a neighborhood during a very contagious pandemic. I mean, everyone's pretty much covered everything. I came in late. I was not prepared for any of this.
Thank you, Jen, for.
Thank you for even hearing it. I hope everybody out there can put themselves in Fairway shoes. What if you lived here? Then what?
I definitely need more than 3 minutes.
And can you please state your name?
Jennifer Burns.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And David, I wish Dave was here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Madam Mayor, I saw Cheryl Dickinson's hand raised, but just put it down. I just want to make sure Cheryl no longer wants to comment on this item.
Cheryl, if you have a comment on this, can you raise your hand?
Looks like no more hands are raised at this time, Madam Mayor.
All right, then let's close public comment, bring it back to council.
Before we start, can I just say to Lynn, who called earlier, that I was searching for your email and I can't find it. Please send it again because I want to hear from you, and I will reach back out to you and we can have a conversation, we can meet for coffee, whatever you need.
Mayor Pro Tem Beer, Ms. Shimamoto's comment was received and is packaged. It's published on the city's website and was sent to council members prior to this meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I can resend that to you if you wish.
That'd be great.
Okay, so I am prepared to have council comments, questions for staff. And we need to decide how we wish to direct staff to take, what next steps we wish to direct staff to take on this item. Would anyone like to start? And Ms. O'Connor, feel free to jump in if you have information for us. I will start since I don't see hands jumping up at this moment, although I suspect that Mayor Pro Tem has some comments to make since she's the liaison for OSPAC. I would like to say that I became aware of this situation last fall. I can't pinpoint exactly when. And I was seeking to acquaint myself with all of the activities of all of the committees and commissions that didn't meet on the same night as committees and commissions that meet on nights that I have other meetings. So I was attending OSPAC meetings to start off with and heard a lot of in public comment from the neighborhood on this particular item. And so I became aware of it at that point. And I want to say that I think, I can't speak for all council members, but I will go ahead and go out on a limb and say that I think all council members try very hard to put ourselves in the shoes of the residents, regardless of what neighborhood they live in. Certainly for me, being I don't live in Fairway Park West. As soon as I became aware of this, I made it a point to go out there in the height of the, at the time, the busy Saturdays, weekends were the worst. This is what the neighborhood was saying. Although I did understand that during the pandemic, it became worse. And this was finding that balance for people between healthy getting outdoors and being confined to our homes. And we saw this, we had issues with this in regard to all of the hiking trails around Pacifica and the county park. There were issues that came to our attention on this item, but not every hiking area has a neighborhood, running along one whole length of it. And this is sort of the unique circumstance of this Maury Point Trail and of this circumstance. One of the things that I know will be an issue that we have to contend with, I'd like to hear about from staff and put on, our list of things to figure out and worry about, is with regard to parking or regard to doing anything about changing the trailhead, changing anything. Not only are we going to be working with, as the city manager said, it's an interagency, multi-jurisdictional challenge, because not only do we have GJNRA, which is a federal agency, we have aspects of the trail adjacent to San Francisco City and County, which is the golf course. And we have, of course, the city of Pacifica. But we also have a state agency, which is the Coastal Commission, because of the location of where all of this exists, which isn't fully 100% in the coastal zone. So I'm going to be the first to say I don't have the deep background on this. I don't live in the neighborhood, and I wasn't participating at the level that I am now in city government when Maury Point became part of GJNRA, when it became, so I am going to need background from staff on that, and may need repeated, reminders about some aspects of that maybe it would be expected I know, and I don't necessarily. And I'm not sure if the general public does as well. So the more we can, have that round background around this, it would be helpful. So I'm committed to working on this and working through this. There is, it's going to be complicated. It's going to take a long time, but it's not going to get better if we don't do something. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, thank you so much, Mayor Beckmeyer. And I just really want to thank everybody in OSPAC for coming and giving us such a thorough report. We need things like that. We need your recommendations. And so I thank you for that. I thank the neighborhood, Jeff, Lori, everybody out there for coming and showing up all the time and for staying on us, because that's how this works, right? We need you, and then we need to figure out how we're going to move forward. And so, you know, the trail that should not have a name that goes behind those homes, it's a big problem. And so I just wanted to say that out loud. Also, I live in Valleymar, and I, you know, ride my bike quite often, go over to Fairway Park to watch Little League on my bike. And it's so dangerous to go through that one section right there by the Moose Lodge on my bicycle. And so that's just my own personal experience. I don't live there, right? So I don't have to worry about all the parking and everything. So moving forward, I think it's really important that we create some kind of an ad hoc group so that we can start gathering all of these agencies together, because there's really no reason why we can't gather these agencies together, right? Because we need to have relationships with them, because we are all responsible for our communities and they're responsible for their part in our communities. As far as Caltrans goes, I realize how unsafe that crosswalk is. I also know that there's several other parts of Highway 1 that need to be addressed. So I think that that's a separate issue. And I would like to, you know, be able to reach out to Caltrans and and meet with them separately, and maybe have like a strategic planning, like, okay, what can you do all along Highway 1? Because there's a lot that needs to happen. You look at the Crespi crosswalk, you look at stuff in Rockaway, you know, so there's issues all up and down the highway. So I do think that that's a separate issue, but I would like to work on it. So I think an ad hoc group would be helpful, because we can start getting to work. And I know Councilmember O'Neill, he's not here, so I don't want to, you know, nominate him. But I know that there have been some discussions. We have talked a lot about it. And so, yeah. And any other comments from anyone else would be great.
I just looked up trails in Pacifica, and the first one I got, this is called All Trails, and it's Maury Point Loop Trail. Now, GGNRA didn't necessarily put that out because so much of the internet is based on public feedback. So some people probably said, hey, this is the best trail around. People should go there. And it adds up. I would like to be on this ad hoc committee, because this is, I do park, but I park on the Beach Boulevard side, and I walk on this trail on the promenade almost every day. And I understand the issues, because some of the days I saw by the golf course, the lines and lines of cars, and the neighbors put out signs that said no parking, and people moved the signs. I watched people move the signs. So I understand people wanted to get outside. And on Saturdays and Sundays and holidays, and I go at 8:30 in the morning, and it's already crowded on the pathways. They don't belong to Pacifica. So that's one of our biggest issues. This is GGNRA, and they're the ones who are going to have to make these decisions, because this does not belong to Pacifica. So I'd like to work with them. I'd like to get things solved for the neighborhood. It's hard for neighborhoods. Frontierland Park in the back, the neighborhoods there get inundated with cars. So there are other locations that get inundated. When the beach people, they don't pay to park, they park in the neighborhoods. So unfortunately, you guys are not alone in your neighborhood with people doing bad things, throwing garbage on the ground, doing all kinds of other unsanitary things that shouldn't happen there. They shouldn't happen. No one should ever throw any piece of garbage out of their car anywhere. But unfortunately, it's happening more and more and more. The garbage cans can get emptied, and 15 minutes later, the garbage cans are full. Not necessarily the fault of GGNRA, because people dump their household garbage in the cans, fill them up. People, it's amazing to me that people will pick up dog poop and put it right on top of the can. What's wrong with opening the can and putting it inside? I mean, really. So I am disgusted too. And I understand the problems and they are large. So I think that's enough of me ranting. Thanks.
I wanted to differentiate the trails. So there's the one trail that goes down the side, you know, from where the restrooms are, that goes all the way down. And then there's the tiny little trail that shouldn't be named.
That goes around, they call Pollywog. That was the.
Yeah, is that that what you were talking about as part of the loop?
Well, that's people do part, that's not in the loop.
Okay, good.
That's not in any one of these items. It's not listed. But I'm sure it's listed in other places. And it depends where people park, where they walk in. Because if you park on the backside right by the golf course, then that's where people walk in. It's not even obvious to people where to go in there. But it's been there for years and years. And then the Maury Point one that comes in from where the bathrooms are. There's two different. And then you could come in on the other side too, by Beach Boulevard.
And I also really want to work on this because it's in my district. Go ahead, Tiger.
Thank you. And I wish I had more to add. You know, for starters, I'm the new guy, and on the other hand, I'm in this other part of town. And on the other hand, especially through the pandemic, I'm watching pretty much everything on a Saturday through the window of my check stand. And so, you know, my perspective is watching the Lindemar area get inundated with people from outside, and watching the especially during these pandemic times, the abhorrent and ridiculous behavior of people coming through to enjoy our beaches, all from the comfort of my check stand as I'm trying to serve them. And, you know, somebody mentioned something about policing their own neighborhood, which really resonated with me, because, you know, if it was Saturday, that meant I was going to be chasing down customers every 5 seconds simply to put a mask on to respect one another. And then to hear the stories of what people are dealing with in their own neighborhood, you know, it goes straight to my heart and straight to what people shouldn't have to deal with. And, you know, I'm just trying to find ways to relate it to my own experience. But, you know, I was trying to listen as I was hearing the speakers for anything that was different than what the recommendations are for what GGNRA should be doing. And there's just so many recommendations because there are so many issues that it was hard for me to see if there was anything not on this list. And I absolutely, you know, it sounds like Mary and Sue V want to go at it, and I support that 110%, and, you know, support everything on the list and everything. So I'm just kind of like trying to wrap my brain around it, and terribly frustrated to hear that the neighborhood has to go through this on a regular basis. And I'm in support of whatever can get anything done.
Mayor Beer, or Mayor Beckmeyer, if I may.
Almost. We're
soon. If I may add some staff perspective to this issue, you know, the community came out to our OSPAC meetings and really narrated what this issue is to the OSPAC members. And we had the benefit of having a GGNR representative present for the multiple meetings where this topic has come up. And so OSPAC found it to be important under their task to organize this information and bring it to your attention. And in doing that, they also have had some feedback with our GGNRA representatives at their meeting. And so, you know, I think where we came with the staff report was, this is more of an immediate issue. And while there is a complex solution to maybe get a more thorough solution, there are some low-hanging fruit that we can easily work with GGNRA to address. And so I think that's where the recommendations in the staff report are coming from, is how can we get some quick solutions to address some of the more immediate concerns. It's, may not cover everything, but it probably will relieve much of the tension. And then also recognizing that, this is largely COVID related, and if it's, hopefully it might die down a little bit. And so those more immediate solutions may be more helpful than focusing on a long-term solution that may not exist in the years ahead, or maybe it will, but just kind of addressing it more immediate seemed to be a priority of OSPAC. And so I think that's, Chair Patton can kind of fill in more on that, but I think that's where staff was helping with OSPAC in their recommendations for council tonight.
And if I could chime in, Madam Mayor.
Please.
So the requested action is to receive the report and also to direct the city manager's office to send a detailed letter to GGNRA reflecting the outcome of this conversation, and asking them to be maybe even at least initially point on this issue, because much of the solutions are going to be their solutions, right? Whether or not it's more parking, or if they want to proceed with some of the recommendations for better signage, even if they're on our streets. Like, so if they're directing us signage as to where to park or a safe place to cross the highway, of course, because they're going to be on city streets, it'll take some cooperation between both agencies. But we really want GGNRA to be aware of this at top levels of that, organization, and to begin thinking about the longer term solutions that may take them a little bit longer, like more permanent restrooms, adding on parking. So what's really important for city management is to make sure we get some level of cooperation and support from GGNRA, because otherwise we could be spinning our wheels here without that. So I would say, we would like to get the council's authorization to send such a letter, and then to follow up in the future with with the ad hoc, and hopefully they would be a part of that, and then we can go from there. I don't know ultimately where the recommendations would land and how that would impact the existing work plan, but I think initially those are the first steps to try to get get some, at least some low-hanging fruit or some solutions going here.
Mm-hmm. I think that's reasonable. I would like to say that, or request that we are careful and make sure to include Jackie Spears' office in our communications, because this is a federal, it's related to the National Park Service, so it is at that jurisdiction. I realize, we're not asking them to solve the problem for us. We just want to make sure it's on their radar and they're aware that we're having these conversations. So council, do you have anything specific to add to what's in the staff report around what you would want to see in that letter? Mayor Pro Tem?
Just the addition of the ad hoc committees so that we can work collaboratively with them.
And Councilmember Big Stick?
There was a trope of technology and how it's being used. I guess just a recommendation, I'm not recalling if there was anything specific in the report, but a recommendation to GGNRA that they have an awareness of how technologies might be pointing the direction there, and if there's anything they can do to mitigate that. I think that might be very helpful.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it may come to when this comes back to council with an update, there may be a need to have our technology director, Tommy, you give an explanation about how that works specifically. I should know, my husband works for a technology company and I wish I could explain it to you, but I really can't. I can say what Councilmember Vaterlas said is accurate, that the more certain searches are done, the higher the results go on what you receive. In other words, it's almost like a bidding process. You end up with a higher frequency, and then it gets, it's at the top of the list, and then it gets clicked, and then it continues to stay at the top of the list. So getting something off the top of the list is not easy at all.
That comports with my understanding, and I realize that a lot of it is driven just by the traffic created by the people going through.
Right.
Somewhere in the mix, though, as I was listening to comments, there was some comment that sounded like an idea that was like, oh, that could be a thing. And so I think more just generally, I'd like to know if there is anything that can be done on the technological level.
Right.
To try and, so that's where I'm at.
I love it. Sounds good. I will say I did a quick search, Sue Vaterlas, on Polywog Trail Pacifica, and the first paragraph on the National Park Service page related to Maury Point Trailhead. In the first sentence, it states Maury Point offers several trails, including the Polywog and Lishumsha trails. Well, it's stated there. Whether it's on a map or not, people are going to go, oh, Polywog Trail, that sounds interesting. Where's that? That's what I would do if I were going to go visit some other community I didn't know well. So, I mean, just that simple, quick 30-second example. If you're trying to look for it and you really want to direct people there, think of how much even more easy it would be to do that. And so the impact as we know it. So with regard to, this isn't something that the staff report asks for specifically, I don't think, but I'm having a hard time referring to that as I run this meeting. So we've talked about a subcommittee or an ad hoc committee, and it sounds to me like we need to establish a council subcommittee of 2 council members to be, not 4, 2 council members to be, to participate in that. And since our council member O'Neill is not here, I don't know if it's appropriate to go ahead with that tonight, or if we wish to postpone that until our next meeting and have a discussion at that time. Thoughts? Councilmember Big Stick?
Since we have 2 volunteers as of tonight, I'm comfortable making the motion to have Mary Beer and Sue Vaterlaus be the representatives on that ad hoc.
Okay, I will second that. Do we need to vote? City Clerk Coffee?
Yes.
Thank
There
you,
needs to be-
City Attorney.
Yes, I'm sorry. There needs to be a motion and then an oral vote by the city clerk.
The motion to appoint Mayor Pro Tem Beer and Councilmember Vaterlas to the subcommittee was made by Councilmember Big Stick with a second by Mayor Beckmeyer.
And just to clarify with the maker and the second, is this also confirming that the direction to send the letter to DGNRA?
Sure, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so the motion is to appoint Mayor Pro Tem Beer and Councilmember Vaterlas to the subcommittee, and direction to the city manager to send the letter to DGNRA as described in the staff report and agenda. Motion by Big Stick, second by Mayor Beckmeyer, and Councilmember Big Stick.
Yes.
Councilmember Vaterlas.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beer.
Yes.
Mayor Beckmeyer.
Yes.
And item number 12 passes with a vote of 4-0 with Councilmember O'Neill absent.
Before we leave this item, I'd like to say that I concur with Mayor Pro Tem Beer's statement that the issues with regard to Highway 1 should be treated and are significant enough to be treated separately. And I would like to speak with Councilmember O'Neill about that. He has a lot of expertise with commute related and Caltrans related involvements. So we can report back on that later during council communications.
Arlene, thank you so much for your time and for your report. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, council members. We're there. Agenda item 13. Another OSPAC related item. Approve the naming of an existing unnamed trail on the city-owned Cattle Hill property with a trailhead at the Gene F. Fassler parking lot. The proposed action is to approve the naming of the existing unnamed trail with a trailhead as the Ani Trail per recommendation of the Open Space and Parkland Advisory Committee and the city manager in compliance with the city's city facilities property naming policy. And I believe staff member Bonnie O'Connor will be presenting the staff report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is Associate Planner Bonnie O'Connor. I would like to welcome Jim Sullivan, a member of the Open Space and Parkland Advisory Committee, to provide you with a presentation of this item.
Thank you. Welcome, Jim.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Ooh.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great. Thank you, Mary. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity.
My mic, I would.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It's okay, go ahead.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm sorry, it just took over my screen here, so I've got my, let me see if I can get my notes back here. Go to the next page, please. Next page. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I need to get my notes up here. It just took over my screen, so give me a second. There we go. Okay. Thank you, Mayor Beckmeyer. And I wanted to thank Committee Chair, OSPAC Committee Chair Arlene Patton and fellow committee members Kate Johnson and Stephen Krause for putting together our paragraph or so on this, and also the survey we did, and Associate Planner Bonnie, whose help, as always, has been indispensable. I'm just going to go down the bullet points here. The trail recommended to be named Ani Trail is an existing trail. It's approximately 1.5 miles long. It's located entirely within the city of Pacifica. It has a trailhead located at Gene Fassler parking lot at the top of Fassler Avenue. The unnamed trail traverses a portion of the large city-owned property known as Cattle Hill, connects to the GGNRA Bacchiano Trail that's within the Sweeney Ridge open space. Some have assumed the unnamed trail to be part of the GGNRA's Bacchiano Trail. The unnamed trail has not had a City of Pacifica generated name since the city's acquisition of Cattle Hill from a private owner in 1989. As provided by Resolution number 44-2015 of City Council, City of Pacifica, the OSPAC Committee, one of our mission directives is to advise City Council on issues related to the natural area that are proposed to be dedicated eventually to the GGNRA, and in ways these areas can contribute to the economy of the city. The city has previously declared its intent to transfer Cattle Hill to GGNRA. However, GGNRA has not expressed any recent interest in the city in acquiring Cattle Hill. Therefore, the OSPAC Committee found it appropriate to proceed with providing a recommendation to name the unnamed trail in order to improve identification, familiarity, and access to the trail for residents and visitors to enjoy. As part of the process, the OSPAC initiated the trail naming recommendation process with the desire to recognize and honor the historic use of the area by the indigenous peoples. OSPAC contacted and has coordinated with surviving descendants of the Ramaytush Ohlone tribe to ascertain a number of acceptable trail names for us to consider. OSPAC also coordinated with GGNRA and the Gold Gates National Parks Conservancy regarding the trail naming. Representatives from GGNRA and the Parks Conservancy were regularly present and participated in OSPAC's meetings and discussion of this topic. GGNRA has offered support, insisting with updating the site directional signage for the new trail name. The OSPAC committee, with specifically the committee members Stephen Krause and Kate Johnson, released a short survey in February of 2021 to receive public input on the narrowed list of potential trail names. And I think you received that in your council packet. It shows the survey results. We posted the survey at the trailhead at Gene Fassler Trail parking lot, and also where the Cattle Hill borders the Sweeney Ridge property, and the trail continues at that point. We also distributed it through the City of Pacifica's Connect with Pacifica e-newsletter and other social media outlets. Public input was collected for 4 weeks, and we received over 400 responses. The most popular trail name option, Ani, which translates from the Ramaytush language into rock, received the plurality of the votes. Like I say, you've seen the results of our survey in attachment B. And then at OSPAC's regular meeting in April of 2021, the committee unanimously approved to recommend the naming of the trail to Ani Trail. And we sent that to city manager and we're now presenting it to city council for consideration. The city manager has reviewed and voiced support the OSPAC's recommendation. Okay, so I think, let's see here. Let me get back on. There we go. Yeah, there's the survey results. And so I think that ends my presentation. Any questions? I'd be happy to do my best to answer them.
Well, I'll go ahead and thank you, Jim, so much for being here and for all of your work. And thank you to Kate and Stephen. That's a great response to your survey, for starters. It was really great response. So I'm always happy to have data. So thanks again for your work on it, and I look forward to our discussion.
Thanks very much. I'm noticing that I'm having battery problems with my computer. So Mayor Pro Tem, you may have to jump in and run the rest of the meeting while I figure out what device I can switch to. We do need to take public comment on this item. So council members, if you have other comments or things you want to bring forward right now, let's do that. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and go to public comment. Okay. Public comment. Mr. Montemayor?
Beckmeyer, I'm not seeing any hands raised at this time.
Okay.
Wait.
Arlene
has her physical hand.
And it appears.
Yes, just one other add-on. Hoping I'm saying this correctly. We have also floated the idea of doing a ribbon cutting ceremony as part of the Ohlone Portola festivities on November 6th. I wanted to make sure that you're all in the loop with that. Make sure that you're all in the loop. So that's my comment.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, what a great addition to those festivities. No other hands, Josh?
We have a hand raised from Petra.
Oh, great.
Thank you very much. I was about to say.
Petra, you may now mute yourself.
Thank you. So I don't really have anything to say about that, but I do want to say thank you for, I feel like we've been listened to, and I think that's all we all wanted. Honestly, aside from a solution to what we were talking about, I wanted to take this time to say thank you. Say again?
Petra?
Yeah.
I need to interrupt you. I know my internet thing is breaking up, so any other council member can jump in and explain if needed that this is regarding specifically this item, the naming of the trail, the Ani Trail.
Okay,
So
well, can I just say thank you then in general?
Thank you.
Okay, that's it.
Any further comments? Thank you very much. Mr. Montemayor, are there any other hands?
There are no more hands raised at this time.
Thank you very much. And you're more than welcome to submit anything in writing at any time.
Okay, we'll go ahead and bring it back to council. Tiger.
I wanted to say that appreciation is appreciated, first of all. And speaking of appreciation, Mr. Sullivan, thank you so much for all the work that you and your team have done on this. And I think that Ani is a lovely name, and I'm happy to vote in support of it. And right now, that's about all I have.
I think you had a great response to your survey, because often we don't get that much. So I think that that was good, and it obviously got the most of the proportion of votes, and I say we go forward.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Petra, for thanking us.
I'm sorry about having to be, that way, but that's my job. So I really will say thank you on this item and this specific item. Thank you to the OSPAC committee members who worked on this. I remember when we appointed some of you, and I recall noting great expertise in marketing and specifically with regard to surveys and such. So the subcommittee members, I think, did an excellent job on this, and hopefully we'll be able to assist with other OSPAC related work in the future.
So, Madam Mayor, we do need a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move that we approve the naming of the existing unnamed trail on the city-owned Cattle Hill property with a trailhead at Gene F. Fassler parking lot.
I'll second.
And it's Ani. Oh.
I heard 2 seconds.
2 seconds. So we're good.
I think I heard Councilmember Vaterlas jump in a split second first. So I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Beer with a second by Councilmember Vaterlas. Start with a roll call vote. Councilmember Big Stick.
Yes.
Councilmember Vaterlas.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Beer.
Yes.
Mayor Beckmeyer.
Yes.
And I have a vote of 4-0 with Councilmember O'Neill absent for item number 13, naming of the trail to Ani Trail.
Yay. And it's 9 o'clock.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
Can I just say
And
one
there
more
being
thing?
no further business.
Wait, Jim
Oh,
wants to
please.
say something.
Yeah, just one more thing.
Go
I'll
ahead.
reiterate what Arlene mentioned, is that the November 6th looks like is the tentative date, but we'll be sharing that info for the trail walk with the Pacifica City Parks and Rec. They always have a GGNRA member there also, so it's always great to talk directly to staff there. And it's also part of the Elodie Portola Heritage Trail. It's a really, that's just something that is dear to my heart and many others here in town. So thank you all for your support.
Thank you very much. I do want to reopen council communications briefly. I had forgotten to bring up this item, and they're reminding me with regard to the upcoming November 6th celebration. I would like to ask staff to please bring forward some information on what steps council will need to do to adopt a land statement for the city council to make regarding the location of lands and where we are conducting our business, and to whom and by whom these lands were originally occupied. So I realize that's a lengthy process. There are other organizations, other elected bodies in town that have recently completed this process. And I would like to make sure that the City Council of Pacifica is on board with that as soon as possible, recognizing that it wasn't on the work plan. However, it is a very important, perhaps we still have time to accomplish it before our November 6th celebration.
Understood. Thank you.
Any further comments from council? All right, there being no further business, and I'm not seeing any hands, I will adjourn the meeting at 9:03 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.